Well, now from our student athletes to one of our coaches going to the court. That's the tennis court, that is. Big round of applause for Coach Connie Keasling. With a career that spanned 22 years at Murray State, women's tennis coach Connie Keasling retired in 2011, was a certain MSU Hall of Fame pick. The only question was when. Keasling's MSU women's tennis teams won 5 Ohio Valley Conference championships, had another 5 second-place finishes. Her teams made the first 4 NCAA tournament appearances and produced 4 Ohio Valley Conference Player of the Year winners. 73 student athletes came through her program at Murray State, and during one 10-year period, every player graduated it, and they won an OVC championship as well. Her teams also performed at a championship level in the classroom. 42 OVC Commissioner's Honor Roll winners, 5 OVC Medal of Honor winners. The Racers had 28 ITA Scholar Athlete Award winners, and the program had 2 NCAA APR Award winners. Keasling's teams were also known for their sportsmanship on the court, as their teams earned 4 Ohio Valley Conference Team Sportsmanship Awards and an ITA National Team Sportsmanship Honor in 2006 and 2007. Keasling's 22 seasons was the 4th longest tenure of any coach in Murray State history. She joins Nita Head from 67 to 82 as the only women's tennis coaches to be inducted into the MSU Hall of Fame. Keasling is the 17th head coach to be inducted and the 3rd woman, following Nita Head in 1987 and Margaret Simmons in 1994. Once again, a big round of applause for Coach Connie Keasling. And let's keep the applause going, because inducting Coach Keasling tonight is one of her student athletes. Please welcome Miss Amy Hall Holt.
It is truly a great honor to be standing up here tonight to be a presenter for such a wonderful lady, coach, and a mentor. When Coach Keasling came to Murray State in November of my junior year, she was the 3rd coach that I had since I stepped foot on campus. Well, 4th if you count Margaret Simmons traveling with us to go to several of our fall tournaments. So you can't leave out Margaret. But from day one, Coach and I had a special, truly special coach-player bond. And that bond still remains today. As I thought about what I was going to say tonight, so many wonderful and beautiful memories came to mind. All the long van rides in the van, and many of the long van rides, but also all the spring break trips to Hilton Head, and also all the fun team dinners we had at her lake house. And we had so much fun. We played games out on the lake, got on our pontoon, rode around, and so such a special time. But the memory that stands out the most is the wonderful hours that I spent in her office talking about tennis, talking about school, but definitely talking about my next step in life, which comes to find out she had already paved the way for my next step to grad school. As you can see, Coach has made a tremendous impact on my life and my career. When I first got my coaching job, Coach was one of the first ones I called. And of course, she was still coaching me up, giving me all kinds of pointers, and motivating me as she did when I was a player. Through all my years of coaching, she was my biggest fan, except for the times we had to compete against each other and it was game on. Even though I'm not coaching anymore, but now as an athletic administrator, she still has a way of pushing me to always want to get better. Coach, through all the years and the support you have given me, the phone calls that you've made, our never-ending calls that you never, ever stopped telling me how proud you were of me. And tonight, I'm here to tell you how proud I am of you.
What an honor it is to be inducted into Murray State's Athletic Hall of Fame, to be honored among the likes of Nita Head, Benny Purcell, and Margaret Simmons, coaches who built programs rich in tradition and excellence, whether it be on the playing court, in the classroom, or in the lives of young people. These coaches, they took me under their wing. They taught me why being a racer was so special. I am not standing here by myself. I am so appreciative and thankful to have this opportunity to express my sincere appreciation to my family, to my Panorama Shores family, who took care of me and provided countless memories, not only for me, but for the players and their families, learning to ski, riding the tubes, and fishing off the dock. For the team builders with the players' roommates, the golfers, and Velvet. For the beginning of the year, fish fries with the entire athletic department, spearheaded by Jimmy Berry. Also standing here with me is Sharon Russell. Sharon, words cannot describe how important you were to each of us coaches in the office and what an impact you made. Mel Purcell, Raymond Sims, thank you for lending your incredible tennis teaching skills to us on the courts and for always making sure that you had our backs during the conference season and that you were always on the courts. It is the players who have put me here. I am so appreciative and want to let you know what a great group of people, players, I had the privilege of coaching, even though defeating UT Martin and beating Austin Peay, Tennessee Tech, Sanford in the OVC championship was the ultimate goal. The most rewarding part of coaching was the relationships with the players, watching them grow as people, as players, coming together as a team. What an amazing life, what an amazing journey I have had by being your coach. Being a tennis player, competing for Murray State in the 80s and in the 2000s was very different. I came to Murray State in '84 as assistant basketball coach, head tennis coach. I could only practice with the players 7 weeks in the fall and 7 weeks in the spring. I would prepare the practice plan, the conditioning program, give it to the upperclassmen who had to lead. They would even drive themselves to the regional tournaments at Wake Forest. And when we won the championship in '87, it was the women's basketball team who made buying the championship rings possible by hosting a softball tournament. I left in '87 to return in the '90s. These were the transition years. Athletics was changing. The NCAA had taken over the AIAW, and now competition, scholarships, and budgets were changing. Some people in the conference had 2 scholarships. One school had 8 scholarships. The conference format was also changing. We would compete one way one year, the next year it was another way. And then also the membership in the Ohio Valley Conference was also changing. Those second place finishes against Middle Tennessee were landmarks. Landmarks because now tennis was becoming a sport in the eyes of college athletics where each university wanted to be the best. In the 2000s, athletes, these players could now compete for a conference championship that would allow them to play in the NCAA tournament. Athletes were also being recognized on a regional, conference, and national level in academics and sportsmanship, something these players embraced. I would like to tell you a little bit about the players as a whole. They were very appreciative and thankful for the opportunities that Murray State afforded them. Their opponents knew that year in and year out, the Murray players were going to fight as hard as they possibly could, even if that meant diving after a tennis ball on the tennis court, or fighting as hard as they could to get that next point. Simmons said it was because I ran you like basketball players and made you do scouting reports. When I took over the program in 1984, I inherited Murray State's first OVC conference team, championship team. It was composed primarily of regional players. These players, they welcomed me. They welcomed my first recruiting class. These players taught this 26-year-old what it was they needed to succeed. They introduced me to a giving community and a caring faculty and staff. This laid a tremendous foundation. The players who followed knew the doors were wide open at Murray State, that dreams were worth competing for, and that champions in all facets of life were possible. In those 22 years, we needed every one of those 73 players. Each player was so important and valuable in their own way. You never knew which player would have that breakout match at just the right time, if they would be able to fight through a nagging injury, or the player who would find a way to dig down deep and win the big points. Some weekends we played 3 matches, which meant that each player had to play a minimum of 12 sets of tennis in 2 days. Yes, there were times and there were players who you counted on every time they stepped onto the court to win you a point, and doubles teams that would refuse to lose to anyone. And too many times it did come down to the last player on. Or like in 2003 at the OVC tournament, when you should have been seated number 1, they even left the name Murray State off the conference t-shirt. And in the middle of all of this, I can still remember them calling me up to receive the Coach of the Year honors, which I kindly declined, only to hear one of my players and then all of the players say, "Coach, take it. Take it, Coach. We did this for you." Yes, you did. And I humbly, gratefully accept this Hall of Fame honor in your behalf.